You are lying in bed years after it happened when the memory suddenly returns. Maybe you said the wrong thing in front of a room full of people. Maybe your voice cracked during a presentation. Maybe you misunderstood a joke, waved at someone who was not waving at you, or tried to look confident and failed in a way that felt painfully obvious. The moment is over. The people involved may not remember it. Some of them may not even be part of your life anymore. But your brain remembers. It replays the scene with uncomfortable precision, the expression on someone's face, the sound of your own voice. The second you realize what had happened, your body reacts as though the event is happening again. Your chest tightens. Your face becomes warm. You cover your eyes even though nobody is there to see you. You ask yourself the same question. Why can I still remember this? The answer is not that your brain enjoys making you suffer. It is not keeping embarrassing memories because they are entertaining. It is storing them because for most of human history, social mistakes could carry serious consequences. Your brain does not treat embarrassment as a useless emotional accident. It treats it as information. Embarrassment usually begins when you believe other people have seen something that could lower their opinion of you. You broke an expectation, revealed a weakness, misunderstood the situation, or behaved in a way that did not match how you wanted to be seen. The pain comes from the gap between the person you hope to present and the person you believe everyone witnessed. You wanted to appear intelligent, but you made an obvious mistake. You wanted to seem confident, but your nervousness became visible. You wanted to belong, but for one moment, you felt completely out of place. That feeling matters because human beings evolve inside groups where reputation was not merely about popularity. Your position among other people could affect access to protection, shared resources, cooperation, relationships, and support. A person who repeatedly ignored social rules could lose trust. A person who failed to notice when others were offended could create conflict. A person who could not learn from public mistakes might eventually become isolated. So your brain developed a powerful method for making sure important social errors were not easily forgotten. It made them painful. Pain is one of the brain's strongest teaching tools. Touch a hot surface once, and the memory teaches you to avoid doing it again. Eat something that makes you violently sick, and you may feel disgust toward it for years. Embarrassment works in a similar way, except the danger is social. The message is not simply that was uncomfortable. The message is, remember what happened so you do not lose your place among other people. This is why embarrassing memories often feel unusually vivid. Strong emotion tells the brain that an event deserves special attention. Your nervous system becomes activated, stress chemicals are released, and your attention narrows around the most threatening details. You may barely remember an ordinary conversation from last month, but you can still remember one humiliating sentence you said 10 years ago. The emotional intensity marked it as important. Your brain was not recording the moment like a camera. It was creating a warning. This also explains why the memory returns without permission. Your mind is constantly trying to predict future situations using patterns from the past. When something in the present resembles the old event, the brain may bring the memory forward. You're about to speak in public, and suddenly you remember the time everyone laughed. You are meeting new people, and you remember the moment you said something awkward. You are preparing to share an idea, and your brain reminds you of the last time someone dismissed you. The memory appears because your brain believes it may help protect you. It is saying something like this happened before. Be careful. The problem is that the warning can remain active long after it is useful. A mistake made as a teenager can influence the way you speak as an adult. One embarrassing presentation can make you avoid public speaking for years. One moment of rejection can convince you that expressing yourself is dangerous. The original event was brief. The strategy built around it can last for decades. This happens because your brain often remembers the emotional lesson more strongly than the actual facts. The lesson might become, speaking up is dangerous. Trying to be funny is dangerous. Showing enthusiasm is dangerous. Being noticed is dangerous. But those are much broader conclusions than the event actually proved. Perhaps one joke failed in one room. Perhaps one group reacted badly. Perhaps you were young, inexperienced, tired, nervous, or surrounded by people whose opinions should never have carried so much weight. The event was specific. The fear becomes general. Then the memories start shaping your behavior. You speak more quietly. You rehearse sentences before saying them. You avoid drawing attention to yourself. You refuse opportunities that could place you under observation. From the outside, this can look like personality. You may describe yourself as shy, private, cautious, or simply not interested. But part of that personality may be a collection of old social warnings that became permanent rules. The strangest part is that the people who witnessed your embarrassing moment probably did not store it the way you did. You experienced the event from inside your own body. You felt the heat in your face, the panic in your chest, and the desperate awareness of every second. Other people experienced it as one small moment among hundreds of things happening in their own lives. They were thinking about how they looked, what they had said, what they needed to do later, and whether anyone was judging them. You were the center of your emotional experience. You were not necessarily the center of theirs. This difference creates what psychologists often describe as the spotlight effect. You tend to overestimate how much attention other people are paying to your appearance, mistakes, and behavior. It feels as though a bright light is pointed directly at you. In reality, most people are standing under their own imagined spotlight. They are replaying their mistakes, not yours. They remember the strange thing they said, the awkward way they entered the room, and the moment they believe everyone noticed their insecurity. A room full of people can contain dozens of individuals, each secretly believing they were the one being watched. Your brain does not naturally account for this. During embarrassment, attention turns inward. You become intensely aware of yourself. And that intense awareness feels like evidence that everyone else must be equally focused on you. But your feeling of exposure is not proof of their attention. It is proof of your nervous system's attention. This is one reason the memory can become distorted over time. Every time you replay an event, you are not opening a perfectly preserved recording. You are reconstructing it. The emotions you feel during the replay can become mixed with the original memory. Details may become sharper. Expressions may appear more judgmental, and the silence may feel longer than it truly was. Your present fear edits your memory of the past. Years later, the event may feel more humiliating than it did in the room because your mind has repeatedly practiced the most painful interpretation. You remember everyone staring, but perhaps only two people looked up. You remember complete silence, but perhaps the pause lasted 1 second. You remember that people thought you were foolish, but you never actually knew what they thought. The memory contains facts, assumptions, and emotional predictions blended together. Your brain presents all of them with the same feeling of certainty. This does not mean the event was imaginary. Some moments are genuinely humiliating. People can be cruel. Groups can laugh, judge, exclude, and remember. But even then, the memory may continue punishing you long after the social consequence has ended. The brain's warning system is better at creating alarms than deciding when they should be switched off. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Forgetting a socially dangerous mistake too quickly could allow you to repeat it. Remembering it too strongly might cause unnecessary anxiety, but it was less likely to threaten immediate survival. The system was built to prefer false alarms over missed warnings. That same bias still operates today. Your brain may replay a harmless mistake because it resembles the kind of event that once could have damaged your reputation within a small group. The modern world makes this even more complicated because your social audience can be enormous. A mistake can be recorded, posted, shared, and judged by people you have never met. Your nervous system was designed to track the reactions of a limited community. It was not designed for permanent digital evidence or thousands of strangers commenting at once. Even when no recording exists, your imagination can create an audience larger than reality. You picture everyone remembering. You imagine people retelling the story. You assume your mistake changed how they see you forever. The ancient fear of social damage combines with a modern ability to imagine endless observers. No wonder a small moment can feel permanent. But there is another side to embarrassment. The fact that you feel it often means you care about how your actions affect other people. It means you understand social expectations. It means you can recognize when your behavior did not match your intentions. A person completely incapable of embarrassment would not necessarily be confident. They might simply be unable to notice social harm. Embarrassment can encourage humility, repair, self-awareness, and cooperation. The emotion is not the enemy. The problem begins when the lesson becomes larger than the mistake. A useful memory says, I misunderstood that situation, so I can respond differently next time. A harmful memory says, I should never speak freely again. A useful memory says, I was unprepared for that presentation. A harmful memory says, I am someone who always fails in public. A useful memory corrects behavior. A harmful memory becomes identity. Your brain often prefers identity-level conclusions because they are simple. If you decide that you are awkward, weak, boring, or bad at speaking, you no longer need to analyze every situation separately. The label becomes a shortcut, but the shortcut can trap you inside a version of yourself created by one old moment. You were embarrassed once, so you avoid situations that might challenge the label. Because you avoid them, you never collect new evidence. The brain continues believing the original warning because nothing has replaced it. This is how avoidance keeps embarrassing memories powerful. Every time you escape a similar situation, your nervous system learns that escape protected you. It does not learn that the situation may have been safe. You decline the invitation, avoid the presentation, stay silent, or hide your work. The anxiety decreases. That relief feels like proof that avoiding the situation was the correct choice. But the brain never gets to discover what would have happened if you stayed. The memory remains unchallenged. This is why new experiences matter. You do not erase an old embarrassing memory by arguing with it. You weaken its authority by building new memories around the same kind of situation. You speak again and survive. You make a mistake and nobody rejects you. You say something awkward and the conversation continues. You become visible and discovers that attention is temporary. The old memories may remain, but it no longer stands alone. Your brain begins to understand that one painful outcome is not the only possible outcome. You can also change the way you remember the event by looking at it with information you did not have at the time. How old were you? What pressure were you under? What skills had you not developed yet? Were the people around you supportive, immature, distracted, or cruel? Would you judge another person as harshly for making the same mistake? This last question is especially revealing. Imagine someone else doing exactly what you did. Would you think about it for years? Would you decide that the mistake defined their intelligence, value, or personality? Or would you briefly notice, understand that people make mistakes, and continue with your day? You often offer other people context while denying it to yourself. You see their nervousness and think they were under pressure. You see your nervousness and think, this is who I am. You see their mistake as an event. You see yours as evidence. That difference is not fairness. It is the brain's social warning system placing you under stricter observation because your reputation feels personally important. The memory may never disappear completely. That is not necessarily failure. Some embarrassing moments remain available because the brain stores emotionally intense events efficiently. The goal is not to delete the memory. The goal is to change what it means. Instead of proof that you are socially defective, it can become proof that you survived being seen imperfectly. Instead of a warning never to take another risk, it can become evidence that one uncomfortable moment did not end your life. The memory says, everyone saw me fail. You can answer, and life continued. The memory says, I felt completely exposed. You can answer, and the feeling passed. The memory says, I must never allow that to happen again. You can answer, I cannot live freely while guaranteeing that I will never look foolish. Embarrassment feels dangerous because it threatens the image you want other people to hold. But no image can remain perfectly controlled. Eventually, you will misunderstand something, speak too quickly, forget a name, make a bad joke, show nervousness, or reveal that you are still learning. That is not a defect in your social performance. It is the cost of being visible. People who never appear foolish are often people who never take enough risks to be seen trying. They remain silent, polished, and protected. They also remain limited. The freedom you want may not come from becoming impossible to embarrass. It may come from realizing that embarrassment is survivable. You can feel the heat in your face and remain in the room. You can remember the mistake and refuse to build your identity around it. You can allow people to see an imperfect moment without believing they have seen your entire value. Your brain remembers embarrassment for years because it is trying to prevent social danger.